Okay, so I did not know anything about this case. It is the Gabby Petito case, and it's a lot to cover. So let's go ahead and get up into it. It is August 12th, 2021 in Moab, Utah. A witness calls in to report a domestic dispute. He saw a man slapping a woman in a white van and said that the man could have been drunk. A police officer finds the van on the side of the road, tells the driver, who was Brian Laundromat, okay? And yes, I will be saying his name just like that, okay? Brian is told to put his keys into the dashboard. In the passenger seat was Gabby Petito. Gabby was crying. She tells the officer that she's crying because she and Brian had been fighting all morning. They had been camping. Brian weirdly mentions the flies from camping, and that to me is a sign of guilt when you overshare dumb shit like that. Gabby then blames herself for Brian's driving, saying that she was distracting him. The officer asks Gabby to step out of the car. She says she has OCD and was apologizing to Brian for being so mean to him. And this right here, baby, was my first indication that she was a victim defending her abuser. And mind you, I knew nothing about this case at all, but the signs were there from this police cam footage. Gabby had just quit her job to start a vlog and was traveling across the country. She said that at one point, Brian wouldn't let her in the car because he wanted her to calm down, which could have been true. But I don't think so. The officer has Gabby sitting in the police car, which is air conditioned, so she can take a breather. She asked for her phone so that she could call her mother. The documentary takes us through Gabby's life as a little girl. We're introduced to her mother, Nicole Schmidt. Nicole and Gabby's father, Joe, parted ways when Gabby was just 6 months old. We were also introduced to Gabby's stepmom, Tara Petito, and her stepdad, Jim Schmidt. Gabby was very artsy. She enjoyed drawing. We meet one of her high school friends whose name was not disclosed. They had a high school clique that it consisted mostly of dudes, including Brian, and so this young lady and Gabby were the only girls in this clique. Now, everyone always looked at Brian and thought that he looked older. Like, ain't no way this dude is supposed to be in high school. It's giving 10 years my senior at least. But anyway, after high school, Brian didn't know what he wanted to do. He didn't want to go to college and pretty much became a nomad. Brian and the other girl from the clique became close, and he wasn't sure if he were in love with her, but she knew that she wasn't in love with his ass, and so from there, they grew apart. And so now it's March of 2019. Brian moves to Long Island for some reason. He encountered Gabby there, and they instantly fell in love. It was natural. They had really good chemistry, apparently. Brian was known to be quiet but well-mannered. Early on in their relationship, Gabby presents the idea to her mother, Nicole, of moving to Florida with Brian. The parents all thought that this was Brian's idea, and bitch, they didn't waste no time going down to Florida after being together for such a short amount of time. Brian's incentive to be in Florida was to be with his family. Both he and Gabby moved in with Brian's parents. Now, Brian's mother, Mrs. Laundromat, had issues with Gabby spending so much time with her son, which is always just so weird to me. Like, bitch, that's his girlfriend. Let up. It was giving jealousy, which made Gabby very uncomfortable, and bitch, I don't live in discomfort. I will move my ass out. I will go back to my parents' house, bitch, please. Real quick, play with somebody else. Anyway, soon after, get this, Gabby gets on Bumble and starts chatting with the woman named Rose. They start kicking it right away. This was good for Rose because Rose was at a very low point in her life. Gabby really helped her through this dark time. Brian Laundromat wanted to meet Rose, okay? They all went to the beach, and while Rose says that Brian was nice, she said it was something off about his ass, okay? And Rose clocked his tea. His art was dark, he had guns and shit, just dark energy. He would do sneaky little shit like steal her ID, just manipulative, but would then turn around and do really sweet things for her. Okay, again, manipulation. He was jealous too, and so he clearly inherited that from his weird ass mother. It is now July 2020, and Brian is planning to propose to Gabby out in the woods, but ain't have no ring, and I'm like, girl, you don't have a ring? Absolutely not. please go get me a ring. Please and thank you. Thank you. All right. A firefly landed on Gabby's ring finger instead of a ring since Brian ain't have no goddamn ring. And so she took that as a sign from the universe. But girl, are you sure? Are you sure? All right, that's all I'm saying. She posted it on Facebook and didn't even tell her mama. Now, her mama, Nicole, found out with everyone else that she was engaged to Brian. Even her mother was like, girl, where's the ring? Listen. Nicole is me because, bitch, where is the ring? Where is it? Okay. Brian did not consult with Gabby's parents at all. They soon got a van. Gabby wanted to start a YouTube channel and in the meantime works at Taco Bell. That pissed Brian off, but I'm like, Brian, had you had a job, you could have bought an engagement ring. Okay, so this girl is working. He was very nasty to her and she felt guilty about it. He was so needy and crying and shit, calling her names, a true punk ass. He wanted to be the only person in her life, so it's now June 2022. He got this van together and they hit the road. They stop at Gabby's parents' place in Long Island. Nicole noticed that Brian was being weird. She gave Gabby money and Gabby started crying but couldn't figure out why. But bitch, we knew why. Okay? She didn't want to be stuck with Brian's boring, jealous ass. I would have cried too, bitch, honestly. She then gave Nicole a very tight hug. Gabby and Brian then leave. They're on the road working on her vlog. Brian had zero personality on camera because he thought it was a stupid idea. Gabby was a natural on camera, I believe. Very sweet-spirited girl. They bickered a lot. She felt bad for always being on her phone and expressed gratitude for Brian, saying she doesn't deserve him, but girl, we all knew that it was the other way around. They've been on the road for 41 days. A photo from Gabby's phone was retrieved with her having a bruise on her face. And I'm like, geez, man. All right, just, ugh. A witness called the police and said that he saw Brian slapping her. We then see where the police has her sit in the cop car. She was clearly hurt. Brian is then interrogated and his face is all scratched up. Okay, you can tell Gabby gave his ass the business. All right, and he clearly deserved it. She defended him to the police, saying that she hit him first. She called her mother and continued to defend Laundromat. Police decided not to file a domestic case and instead said they'd separate Gabby and Brian for the night, but Gabby begged them not to. Police end up getting Brian to a hotel room for the night, which that would never happen for a black couple, first of all. But also, Gabby was believed to be the aggressor here, and I mean, she did tell them that, as well as the scratches on Brian's face, but she had bruises too that were overlooked. So they get a hotel for Brian, and Gabby is just left with the van to fend for herself, which is just completely fucking backwards to me. What I also didn't like is when Brian gets into the cop car. The dumbass officer says that his wife is the same and that she takes medication and that still isn't enough. Not once did this dumbass cop consider that that man could have been the aggressor. A chauvinist. Brian is dropped off at the hotel. Gabby calls her mom, and of course, she's concerned about how Brian was given a hotel and she wasn't. But Gabby assured her mom that she was okay. Now, Gabby and Laundromat end up reconnecting that night against the police's wishes. They drove to Salt Lake City. It is now August 22nd, and Gabby calls her ex Jackson. She needed help getting away from Laundromat, and baby Jackson looked like he'll fuck some shit up. Okay, he was a big dude, okay? She knew what she was doing by calling Big Jackson. So Brian was supposed to be flying home to empty his storage unit, which was very suspect to me, while Gabby stayed at a Utah hotel. During this time, Gabby uploaded her first YouTube video. It was also during this time that she contacted Jackson saying that she wants to leave Brian. A few days later, Brian and Gabby are at a restaurant. Gabby goes to the bathroom saying she doesn't feel well, and during that time calls Jackson, but he wasn't available. A little later, we see Gabby and Brian go into a Whole Foods via the store surveillance camera, and that was the last known footage to be taken of Gabby. Gabby had texted her mother saying that she was driving to a campsite alone while Brian camped by himself. It's August 29th, and a woman named Norma I'm gonna try to say this right. I'm gonna try to say this right. Jolovic. Oh my God. Okay, Norma was leaving a church service and saw Brian hitchhiking. He asked for a ride to his van. As they were driving, Norma's Bible was on the dashboard and slid onto Brian's lap, bitch. But he took it off his lap and put it back onto the dashboard. But just just some symbolism taking place here, okay, in the spirit realm somewhere, all right? He put it back. They arrived to the entrance of the campsite. Norma asked Brian if he wanted her to drive him into the site, and he insisted that she didn't. Okay, he said no. Even started opening the damn door before she stopped the car. My heart was racing at this point. He gets out and walks into the site. It's now August 30th. Nicole, Gabby's mother, receives a text from Gabby's phone that asks her if she can help Stan, who is her grandfather, that she keeps getting his voicemails and missed calls. Nicole knew some shit was off because Stan is Gabby's grandfather, whom she always referred to as Grandpa, never Stan. Nicole just assumed that Brian sent the text for Gabby. It's September 1st. Nicole hasn't been able to reach Gabby. She sends her a text checking in, but she gets no response. She checked Gabby's social media and noticed that Gabby hasn't posted since August. Over the next week or so, she's reaching out to Gabby. Joe, Gabby's father, hadn't heard from her either. They reached out to Jackson and he hadn't heard from her either. Rose is concerned also. It's September 10th and Nicole reaches out to Roberta, Brian's mother, asking if she heard from them. Now, this was an iMessage that Nicole sent to Roberta. Roberta Laundromat never responded, so Nicole texted her again, and that message was not an iMessage. It was now green, which means that Roberta could have blocked her ass or turned the phone off. Who knows what Roberta Laundromat was doing? None of the laundromats were responding to Gabby's family. Suspect. Very suspect. All right? Joe lets their asses know that he's going to call the police. They still did not respond. The search is now on for Gabby and Brian. It's September 11th. Nicole reached out to Florida police. Police pull up to the laundromat residence, and Brian's parents do not want to speak to the police. So I'm like, they have got to be in on Gabby's disappearance. Lock they motherfucking asses up. Brian's father says that Brian is there, and I'm like, what? That's all he's going to say? They already have an attorney. The white van is actually in Gabby's name, and it's at the laundromat residence. Now, a detective says that she called Brian's sister, who told her that Brian and Gabby got into a fight and flew home, even though the van was there. But bitch, Gabby isn't home. Okay, so Sergeant Alka-Seltzer is speaking with the woman detective in Long Island, and he doesn't seem to think that this is a big deal, that Gabby's parents haven't heard from her. And see, this is why so many cops are bad at their job. You have to consider all angles in these situations, because while she could choose not to speak to her parents, she could also be in trouble or worse. Sergeant Alka-Seltzer Plus. He was very fucking nonchalant. It was giving very much Florida police. He didn't think that they had probable cause, and I'm just, like, check that van for evidence. Please, Alka-Seltzer. Alka-Seltzer goes back to the laundromat's door and they still claim to know nothing. Alka-Seltzer then says that the van is registered under Gabby, so he's gonna have that shit towed away since you hoes don't seem to know shit. He tells the towers not to touch anything inside the van, obviously to avoid any potential crime scene contamination. Nicole is given the news that Brian is home and that he's lawyered up, and of course, that terrifies Nicole. The search continues for Gabby. It was all over the news. The laundromat family hasn't answered any questions at all. Gabby's phone was used to gauge the area that she was last located. And baby, there were people protesting on the laundromat's lawn, shouting out, "Where is Gabby?" And get this, when Brian returned home from his trip with Gabby, the laundromats all went camping. And I'm like, bitch, what? Lock them all up. Lock them up. Brian's sister claims that their parents won't even tell her anything, but bitch, you're a liar. Lock her up too. The police cam footage of Gabby and Brian's post-fight is now released to the public. This was all news to Nicole and Joe. Everybody was pissed. It's September 17th. A call is made saying that some shit might be popping off at the laundromat residence. Police pull up and are informed that Brian is not there and hasn't been for days. They didn't know that he was missing, really. It's been days, allegedly. Police find a note from Mrs. Laundromat to Brian that said burn after reading, bitch. In this note, okay, she said that they will never be divided. That if he's in jail, that she will find a way to get him out. And if you gotta hide a body, she will be there with a shovel and some garbage bags. Lock her ass up now. Gabby and Brian are now missing. There were vloggers who were also on the road at the time of Gabby's disappearance. They ended up having footage of Gabby's van, which got a lot of attention. It was also very helpful to police. Gabby's body was then found. Her body was staged and fuck. Wow. There was blunt force trauma and manual strangulation. Needless to say, everyone was heartbroken. Around the time of Gabby's disappearance on August 29th, Brian had been having long phone calls with his parents. Lock them up. Brian was trying to create an alibi by texting Gabby's phone and responding to his own text using her phone. That's also when he texted Nicole about Stan. He even sent money to himself from Gabby's phone. Bitch, okay. The heat was on Brian, obviously. He took his parents' car and told them he was going camping to escape the press. Police began searching for Brian in a big-ass 20,000 plus acre park. They were searching for him for weeks. Officials then opened the park up to the public, which is when the laundromat went to the park to look for Brian. And only an hour into the laundromat's search did the father find Brian's waterproof bag, which only means that they knew more than they were telling. Soon after Brian's remains were located, he was fully decomposed. They came to the conclusion that it was suicide by a gunshot wound. He left letters saying that he offed himself in hopes of making Gabby's family happy, but no, you didn't make them happy. They deserved more. He made up a story about Gabby's death and took zero accountability, saying that she slipped and was in so much pain that he ended her suffering and just couldn't live without her, so took himself out as well. When Brian spoke to his parents after Gabby's disappearance, they dropped $25,000 on a lawyer. So you're telling me they didn't know anything? What I respect about this documentary is that they acknowledge the lack of media coverage there is for women of color. And even Gabby's family did their research and acknowledged that as well, which I do respect. They were also very vocal about domestic violence in general in Utah and just in general. So, what a fucked up story. Please lock up the laundromats. They are guilty as charged, guilty by helping this guy. They know more than what they're saying, and it's fucked up. And if they were black, they would be in prison. Lock they motherfucking asses up. A lawsuit was filed by Gabby's family against the laundromat family, which ended in a settlement, which to me just isn't enough, man. Anyway, talk to me in the comments. Let me know what you guys think.